Yeah.
What is up?
What is it?
Dude, I don't have my sunglasses. I like you guys a lot, but there's some dudes on Twitch right now who are about to start talking about VMware on AWS, and I kind of want to listen to that. I'm just kidding.
I want to talk about the story of my new computer.
The story, huh?
Tell it. Let's do it.
There's a bit of a story. So, for those of you who don't know, which should be very few people, I got a new computer. And this is a big deal for me because I probably have some sort of mental disorder that causes me to be obsessed with these things. But no, so I did. I got a new computer with, but I actually did something that I've never done before, which was I didn't actually build it myself. I ordered a custom-built computer from CyberPower PC with parts that I picked out.
Nice.
But I built it and had it ready to order and ship to me. Professionally built, installed, cables done, custom cabling, red and black, because wreck 'em. And it turned out phenomenal. I was terrified. I was terrified about doing it. But I ultimately did. And so the reason why I ended up doing this, one, it's a great build versus buy scenario that I can talk about with my customers. Because I have been building my own computers for 15, 20 years. Like I built my first one in 6th grade. So how old are you in 6th grade? Like 16, 17?
What?
So, I don't know how ages and grades line up.
You're about 12.
Okay, 12. There you go.
12 in 6th grade.
That sounds about right. So, but I built it out of like scrap parts from my parents' old broken computers. And so I went to a LAN party in 8th grade. And at that LAN party, my friends were playing this game called Counter-Strike. And so I went home and I got my computer that I sort of assembled together from older computers and went to go play Counter-Strike. And I played it fine. I was, running around this game called Counter-Strike. And everything seemed fine until I looked over at my friend's computer and noticed that his game looked drastically different. I was like, hey, man, I thought we were playing Counter-Strike. He was like, this is Counter-Strike. Your computer just sucks. And that burned me pretty bad. And I was like, what is that? Like, what do you mean my computer sucks? How can my computer be worse than yours? So he took me through this whole thing of like, hey, man, you're an idiot. You don't know how any of this stuff works. My computer's better. And it was a custom build from, some custom website at the time. And so I learned about those websites then and what computers could be. So from 8th grade until like 10th grade, when I got a car and a job and started getting money, I built a brand new computer on those websites every time. Like I would reconfigure 1 million different times a day for like 3 years, every day. I mean, it was.
I remember doing that.
Yeah, I did it all the time.
Had that same itch.
Oh, dude, just dreaming of ordering one of these computers. And of course, we all know if you build it, you'll pay less money. Even if you go with CyberPower, which I did, which does a pretty good job of staying close to the retail cost of the parts for everything, but they got to make their money too, right? So I went ahead and I did that for years. I got money. I spent like $600 and built my own PC. I was working at a custom computer shop at that point, so I was doing that all the time anyway. So I built my own PC, and I kind of went on about my life. Fast forward 15 years later, and I'd built PCs all along the way. But I always told myself, and me and my friends there said, one day when we're old and
So good.
so bad.
Oh, he's the host. He took over.
Oh, man. Aaron, are you
What?
back? Are you back?
What happened? Yeah, my
You were so
hotel
funny,
Wi-Fi
dude.
just died.
It
What?
was so funny. I wanted to take a picture, and I missed the opportunity.
What happened?
Your face, you were just frozen like this.
No emotion.
Oh, it was funny. And it was right as I was getting to the point that I finally
Great
realized
story,
it's
Russ.
a 15-year-old dream. That's exactly what you
Nailed
looked
it.
of ordering this brand new computer. So I did everything. The only things I brought over from my old computer were I brought two different drives. I brought a 1 terabyte and a 2 terabyte SSD over, but everything else was brand new. Man, he froze again. And so it's very exciting to build this. It's a monster. I mean, it really is. It really was bad timing to do this because Intel's newest CPU and NVIDIA's newest GPU are drastically more expensive than they have been the previous years they've released. But it didn't matter. It's a dream. And I'm fulfilling it. And the wife said I could, so I did it.
You want to take a guess? You would take a guess at who built my first custom system?
Tyler Gates.
Tyler, you're not allowed to guess.
I mean, that's my only guess. I don't know any of your other childhood friends.
What did you say? Oh, you said Tyler?
I said Tyler Gates.
Yeah, you're right. How hard of a question was that?
I mean, I said it immediately. So.
Yeah, you did. I didn't even finish the question.
Yeah. Russ got in there pretty quick.
Yeah.
When was that? What? How old?
2001? 2000?
That was okay. So
Maybe
y'all
2000,
are
2001.
2 years older than me.
Sure.
I'm 31.
It was 4 years before Google's IPO.
Were you tracking that back then?
Dude, I can't tell you how many times I've kicked myself for realizing what Google's potential was in 1998, 99.
That's the thing now.
Yeah, dude. It IPO'd for $58 in 2004. Now it's $1,095 piece share.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a decent return. Tyler, you're the resident financial expert. Is that good?
It's pretty good.
Okay.
It's not too shabby.
Very good. So, question.
Dude, another fun fact
of that machine.
Another fun fact, real quick. A friend of mine that I was talking to today owned the domain time.com and gave it up because it was $10 a year. And he was like, I'll never need this. And so I Googled time.com and brought it up. He's like, yeah, I know. Which is obviously a magazine. But yeah.
That's hilarious.
It is hilarious. His name is Tim. So he had like tim.com, time.com, bunch of just like random stuff like that, and let him go.
That's painful.
It is very painful.
See that future.
Yeah. Yep.
My most recent financial regret was the emails back and forth with my brother about getting into Bitcoin mining when we both had free electricity. And that would have been 2011, 2012.
Yep.
So, like pennies a Bitcoin. And we realized like it'd be fun to mine it for free, probably buy some.
I think I remember y'all talking about it then.
Yeah.
Myself and John Moody, if you're listening, which you're not because you're not the one viewer, talked about dropping $500 in around the same time. And that was a lot of money for us back then. I mean, that was tough.
That was the problem.
We were like, we're going to do it. And then we didn't because we were scared. I don't know why we didn't do just $100.
$500 a month.
You know, but yeah, on Bitcoin
Yeah.
back in the day. And then we were like, nah.
That's crazy.
And then it crashed. And we were like, vindication.
Right.
And then we should have bought it then.
$5,000 a coin.
I don't want to talk about it. Listen, this is where we talk about how great it's doing. Or did.
So what's the next one then? So we don't miss the next one.
Just keep your eyes open and don't be afraid to throw a hundy down on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm down $5,000 right now, but I'm holding. I will hold forever.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I will either lose it.
Wrote it off.
That is going to be the reality.
Yeah.
It will never
Hold
be
until you're 40.
I'll hold
50.
it until I'm
You'll be fine.
50 million. I'll hold it until this computer is slow, which will be never.
Well, apparently it's slow when you run Zoom, so sell that shit.
That's factual. Zoom is running fine. The stream appears to be running fine. But playing Black Ops 4 while running Zoom with hardware acceleration on the other screen is problematic, as it turns out.
I wouldn't know.
Man, they're getting deep into this VMC demo over here.
I bet. Your dog's on the couch.
4 viewers, guys. We are
Hold the dog.
getting close.
Get your dog. Bring him.
Lexi.
Bring him over.
Come here. Yeah, come on, baby girl. Oh.
One of the guys on my
Say
team
hi.
has a dog that looks like fried chicken. He's about the size of it.
What?
Oh.
It's hilarious.
Say hi, Lexi.
Super
That's
cute.
weird.
Say hi, Lexi.
What's up, Lexi?
Mm.
Ow, ow, ow.
Okay, go back to your chair. Or just walk out of the room. That's also an option. So yeah, I really ended up ordering this PC mostly because I didn't want to take the time to build it. And even though I've been extremely successful with the builds in the 15 years of doing them, I just felt like at this point in time, I valued my time more, wanted to focus up the stack, and the results were phenomenal. Like I got this PC in yesterday afternoon, and by the time my friends were home at 5, 6 o'clock, I had all of my games on it. They were configured, up and running. Stream was going. We played till 1 a.m. and it was just working.
You're supposed to be playing right now, right?
Yeah, they're on right now. I can see them visibly.
Just
Like
like,
TJ's streaming right now.
So how many systems have you built?
I've actually built over 3,000. That's not for myself, obviously. Because I worked at a custom computer shop, and schools would order PCs.
Okay.
Yeah, and we would build all of the systems by hand for the school.
I built less than 5.
For myself, I would say I have built 7 or 8. For friends, I've probably built another 15 or 20.
Yeah.
So like the high-end custom builds, you could probably put it at a solid 25 that I've built of high-end custom desktops. I did build a laptop once. I will say to the kids out there, not worth it.
That's terrible.
Do not do it.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, you can. You can get all the stuff and assemble it and stuff.
That seems so ridiculous because
the best thing to do is just to buy the chassis and then go get your and have it with CPU included, and then add your memory and your drive into it, and then OS. So if you do those 3 things, that's actually worth it. But
yeah, okay. I thought you were talking about like starting without a motherboard and all that kind of stuff because I don't know how you would like.
No, I did. Yeah, I started with like empty chassis, a simple motherboard, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. It felt like compiling Linux from scratch. I'm not gonna lie, it was rough. Or deploying OpenStack, as you might say, and then someone else might take credit for.
Oh. Yeah, we had the same idea at the same time. Or you saw it on Twitter 30 days ago and forgot about it.
For yours to cool down a little bit, and then I'll throw mine out there.
Hey, congrats on the 100 retweets, though. You're welcome.
Yeah, I've never had 100 retweets.
Gift from me to you. Dude, how about that PB getting like 5,000 retweets?
I know. What was that about again?
It was about Connor.
It was like a political tweet or something, right?
No. It was a fight. It was a fight.
Oh, the fight.
Politics and MMA.
Yeah, so there was a big thing where the fight ended. Connor was defeated, and then another fight broke out after the event was over. And he just shared his thoughts on it, and I guess it was spot on analysis. Yeah. And 700 million people were watching it. So
that's crazy, man.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
He's getting a lot of traction with that VMC stuff he's been doing.
Yeah, man. Dude, it's huge. Brinks was on stage at VMworld.
I know.
They're going to be on stage again in Barcelona, I think, too.
Yeah.
Nice. I drove by their building the other day, and I was like, oh, hey, I bet Paul's in there.
Yeah.
Yep. Man.
Yeah. So, speaking of VMC, isn't that what you're doing this week, or am I wrong, Julie? Like, why are you in Boston?
No, I can't talk about it a whole lot, but I'm doing VMware Cloud Foundation work.
Okay.
Yeah, my team and the VMware Cloud Foundation, part of the VMware Cloud Foundation team that's focused on a specific aspect of it is out here as well.
Yeah.
So, about 25 of us.
Okay.
We're gonna finish up some testing tomorrow, just finding bugs and improvements.
I love testing. I love it.
Future version. Hey, that's pretty cool, man. We went through a bunch of deployment stuff yesterday. going through node removals and adds today and workload domain creations and all that kind of stuff.
I love a good workload domain.
So
I do.
You're a nerd.
I'm not kidding. That's real. One of we'll just say your competitors in their 5.9 released the ability to do basically workload domains, and I was like, thank God, finally, you can be a production system.
Speaking of competitors, somebody texted me today that said I'm in and I won't name the competitor, training, and it's really bad. I had thought they were better about this, but it is really, really bad. He was talking about mudslinging, et cetera. It was like it always happens when people feel like they're backed into a corner. It just kind of tells me that vSAN/VxRail, we're doing something right. But I hear you. If they're going to pick on us, at least let it be accurate. He said it's particularly bad, inaccurate, and all over the place. I thought they were better than this by now, grown up, so to speak. I said, yeah, I saw a competitive positioning deck from them recently, and there were all just tons of wrong info in there, and they didn't even pick on us for the things that they could. He said that's exactly what I'm tearing apart in this class. He's like, I've corrected him more than a handful of times. He bashes VMware about all the products they have, and now is introducing all of their Me Too's. It's a super big turnoff, yet still again, et cetera. And then he goes off to say some other things.
I can say with absolute certainty that every single one of you vendors, yeah, that's both of you, every one of you is so bad at assessing your competition. It is laughable.
Yeah.
The thing is my reps have to go through training based on our partnerships, especially with like Dell EMC, because it's so big, and like Cisco, same thing. Just we have these mandatory things we have to do, and I have reps coming to me and they're like, "Hey, a lot of this just doesn't sound right. Can you come look at this?" And then I go look, and I'm like, I cannot believe this is like official training from people.
Yeah.
And some of it's cringeworthy to the point of it's like, grab some popcorn.
Yeah.
Sit down, blast the speakers. Let's watch this together.
I hear you. And I'm not sharing that story with you saying that nobody on my side of the fence does that. I'm just saying, as I tweeted earlier, that, when you fling mud, you're only going to get yourself dirty. So.
No, 100%. 100%.
Also, a fun quote from Sun Tzu's The Art of War. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. But that's what you're talking about, right?
Correct.
A lot of them don't know it. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle.
What do you think about that, Tyler?
Sun Tzu. Good stuff. That book was incredibly painful to read, though. I'm not going to lie.
I read that while recovering from surgery, and I enjoyed every second of it.
That's what surgery? What'd you get? What surgery?
Foot and ankle reconstructive. Yeah.
So,
for my troubles.
D1 athlete, pay the price.
Getting crossed up all the time. It feels real bad, man.
I just picture you out there on the 3-point line, like falling to the ground, and everyone's like, "Oh!"
Yeah, or the half-court line, whatever works.
Whatever, backcourt.
Dude, I'm on offense getting crossed up, dude. Like that's the life that I live. But don't worry about it.
It's not right.
It's not right. But I'll tell you what, man, unlimited range.
That's right, dude.
That. If you got one skill, one thing, and you do it really, really well, someone will give you a chance. Listen to it, kids. Go learn one thing and be the best at it.
So I got a question for you.
Nice.
I'm excited. I'm going to answer it.
So I think y'all know I like YouTube. And I've seen a couple things lately where people are talking about how they went from basically either nothing or like small time, just kind of like barista or checker at a grocery store or something like
McDonald's.
That, to a 6-figure income. Mm-hmm. What would y'all say if somebody came to you and they said, look, I'm not in the tech industry and I hear that there's money to be made from a pre-sales consultancy perspective, and I make $25,000 a year. I want to quadruple that. I want to hit 6 figures. What's your advice?
So your question is specifically, I'm wondering, is your advice are you wanting us to answer in relation to
In technology, how does somebody achieve that in technology?
Solutions consultant.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, in any so the scenario is somebody is not in technology and they see that people are making money in technology. What do you tell them? They want a
six-figure where they are in their life cycle. I think if you're coming right out of college, you've got options to go wise up in some form or fashion on technology, and then you go probably work for one of the large OEMs.
Yeah. Let's say they're 24.
If you're older, right? So you've lived in some other industry for a while, then you probably have to go prove you have some chops, make yourself a brand, publicize that brand, and make yourself valuable before people know they want to talk to you about it. It's a lot harder later.
Yeah, I'll talk about it in two different ways, I think. 24-year-old. So you can just broad spectrum technology. I'll take the easy road here is, I mean, if you want to get kind of doing what we do in a sense as part one of this answer, I think it's focus on very specific things. I tell people all the time, we have technical advisors in our company. They ask all the time, where should I be looking, focusing on? And I tell them all the time, they need to know the core things pretty well. They need to know VMware. They need to know storage. Or if they're a networking guy, they need to know Cisco. But they also need to, if they really want to be ahead and start driving where we'll be going as a company, I tell them they need to be focusing on distributed microservices, Kubernetes, Ansible, orchestration. They need to work up the stack. You don't need to be a coder. You don't have to be a developer. In fact, I'd say being a developer is probably not the right path overall to that six-figure, because honestly, there's so many developers these days that unless you're a developer who's creating their own stuff, you're just kind of becoming another cog in the wheel at some corporation. And it's a very, depending on where you are, can be a mid to low level job at times. And so, if you want to get to where we're doing, I think focusing on that technology and pushing for it. Cloud is obviously very popular, AWS, Google, Azure, whatever. Focusing on that and then kind of trying to go and network and meet people and get an opportunity. Like Tyler said, there's a lot of different programs out there. I know Dell's or EMC's offered them in the past. Tyler, I know you went through part of that. Yep. Internships at companies, that's kind of the route that I took. Likewise, companies like SHI, like we hire people to be technical advisors who have technical aptitude but don't necessarily have technical knowledge or experience. And then sort of give them experience and exposure. And we train them up, but holistically, it's more like giving them an opportunity to learn themselves. That's really kind of what we do. And then the ones that have that strong aptitude will make it. So look for things like that. The other side of this, and the one that I believe is drastically harder, and I think maybe people who see the success of people on YouTube and Twitch are going to be like, oh, there's no way that's harder. They're doing this, yada, yada, yada. But if you want to become the next Ninja, or you want to become the next Nadeshot, or any one of these guys, I would say the number one thing you're going to have to do is sacrifice everything. Period. Like you're going to have to dedicate every waking moment of your life, and you're going to have to fail for a really, really long time. Like, for instance, Ninja has been streaming for almost 10 years, making nothing. Nadeshot was working the overnight shift at McDonald's, and then he'd stay awake, and then he'd go try and play in these little Call of Duty tournaments back before esports was a big thing, making no money and had nothing going, and then eventually got sort of lucky, and he'd tell you that, to do well and strike, make some content, just put it out there. The one thing that's important, one reason why we do this, they were just about getting content out every day. And that was before you could even monetize on YouTube. These guys were not making anything. And so the pioneers, the guys that y'all see, ninjas in an anomaly making 500 grand a month. But, a lot of these guys, they gave up everything. I mean, there was one guy on a podcast recently for Hector, he's the owner of Optic Gaming. And he's done a lot for the community, and he's gotten a lot of people involved in the competitive gaming scene, but also just content. Like he always says, content is king. He's much more concerned about people just producing content than he is wins and losses in Pro League. And so part of that is like some of these 14-year-old kids that he had to like go talk to their parents, be like, hey, you have to understand this kid's really good. He's doing something that no one else can do. He's creating this content. He's got an eye for it, and he's having these people. He's transforming their lives, but they're also saying to him, "Oh, well, what did I do? I didn't have friends in high school. I didn't go to parties. I didn't go to social events. You know, I went to school. I graduated. I got decent grades. I didn't go to college after that, though. I focused on this. Like a lot of things that traditional people, like your parents, for instance, would say, don't do this. This isn't the path to success. You have to be stubborn enough to say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it. And if you go watch any major esports tournament where they do kind of short documentaries on the players, it's hard to watch because some of these guys will be like, my family disowned me. My parents kicked me out. I was homeless. And then they kept doing it anyways.
Yeah.
So if you want to be successful in the way that everyone's like, oh my gosh, they get paid all this money to play video games on a stream and other people just watch them. I don't know why. They have given up more than you probably ever will. And so that's
a common thread too, right? Like whether it's streaming and doing stuff on Twitch today or becoming a YouTube success or reaching into a new industry, if you are busting your ass and doing the best that you can do at that role, you will get noticed, right? Mm-hmm. Like you have to have, I mean, I'll even go so far as to say a singular focus on getting shit done. And if you can do that, if you can dedicate yourself in that way to what you're doing, and it doesn't have to be completely unreasonable. I mean, you're talking about breakouts and stuff like that. That's a whole next level, right? That's the entrepreneurship side of things too. But just being a very diligent and focused person is going to take you far in any role. If you want to stand out, you got to work harder than everybody else.
Yeah, hardest worker in the room. Yep, discipline, man. Okay, cool. Yeah, just curious. I was curious if y'all would talk about, and Russ, I think you pretty much did as far as like skating to where the puck is going from a cloud native kind of conversation perspective.
Sure.
And being one of the architecture solutions consultant types rather than being an actual coder. I don't know. I have less experience with that though. I don't know what their opportunities or pay is like either.
Oh, I mean, it can be. I started that way, right? I mean, I was a DBA and a Java developer. It's a weird, but it's where I started. And I hated it, just for the record. So all you DBAs out there, I don't know how you do it, but you're doing God's work. Much love.
Yeah.
It's not something that I enjoy doing. And you can make good money there, and it's stable, and there's tons of opportunity. But it's just one of those things where it became very saturated very, very quickly. You can think of this like lawyers. Like a lot of people will tell you it's not a great time often to be a lawyer because there's so many lawyers out there. Well, if you take that and you multiply that by like 100,000, that's how many developers you have. And you're competing with guys who are working for, a fourth of what you would take in the States over in India, and they can get that stuff done. Like they can do work. You know what I mean? And it can be at disparate hours because of technology these days. So, I really do think that development and coding is important. In fact, I have, obviously you guys have young kids. I'm about to have a daughter, and I have a feeling that, thank you. I think that she is probably going to have mandatory coding learning before she graduates high school.
Yeah.
I really do. It's going to be no different than learning a second language.
Yeah, learning a foreign language. Yeah, learning a second language.
And when you think of it like that, like knowing a foreign language is extremely valuable, but is knowing a foreign language the path to six figures? No.
Right.
It's not. It can be a tool to help you get there. And me having developed and been in coding in the past and been through Kanban boards and all of that is valuable whenever I'm talking to a developer in the room. I was on the phone today going through SQL design best practices with a customer. And the DBA, the moment that he made a reference to the way that you would structure SQL tables, and I acknowledged it, he was like, "Wait a minute, hold on, you know what I'm saying?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I thought you were the infrastructure guy." I'm like, "So, hold up, I am the infrastructure guy, but I did this before. I'm not you. I can't do what you do, but I do know what you're saying." So I can have the conversation. because that's something that I've done before. Likewise, whenever someone's telling me they're trying to go from waterfall to agile to a CI/CD pipeline, I know what the pains are that's like. That makes me valuable to an organization, just to have that visibility and just to understand what that is. And that's what people need to think about. It's not the one particular skill. It's all of the different things that you can do with the experiences that you garner. And that's why, you think about school. When you go into a program, like, I want to get a degree. Well, not you, Tyler. You got 2 like highly specialized degrees, and then you went on to like 9 doctorates.
He's a triple PhD.
But
0 PhD.
It's at least 2 PhDs, right? Bewley, back me up on that. At least
it's at least 2 PhDs. I thought it was 3.
At least 2.
Get out of here.
Just ask him to do math, people. You'll see what happens.
No.
But no,
if you have an hour.
What did most people say? You're like, oh, I chose this major, and you know what? I can really kind of do a little bit of everything with it, right? And my wife runs into this problem. She has a highly specialized degree, and it kind of pigeonholes her into certain things, and she's extremely successful at it. Like one of the best nationally at what she does. And it still kind of pigeonholes her. So it's really about that flexibility, and we all kind of shoot for that. And how you apply those experiences. So just going and saying, I'm going to be a developer. I'm going to code in Node.js or whatever. That's what I'm going to do. Well, you're probably not. You're probably going to look at doing something else. But it's a great experience to have, and I think everyone should have it. I'm thankful for my 6 years of professional development on coding in general. I don't use any of it, and if I wrote an application today, it would be the worst code you'd ever see, be incredibly inefficient. My wonderfully powerful computer would not be able to execute it because it would be so poorly written.
So how many years, and the reason why I'm asking some of this, I've been asked some of these questions recently by some people,
sure,
seen some of this kind of content being created, which is why I asked the other question. But I'm curious for both of y'all, how many years into what you're doing right now, how many years into that did it take before you felt like you made it, right? Whatever that means, if it's like success in however you would define it, or are you even there yet?
I would say not even there yet, right?
How many years are you into it, just for the people that maybe don't know?
So I guess into the systems engineering side of things in IT, I'm 4 years deep, right? And I've been doing the vSAN specialist job for going on 2 years.
Yeah.
And every day I am just wrought with imposter syndrome.
I don't think that ever goes away.
Well, but that makes me feel like I'm not there yet, right? Like that's a constant drag. It's just part of the deal. It doesn't stop me in a conversation with a customer. I know I can put together a competent solution and take them through to a successful end game. But for some reason, looking in the rearview mirror and recognizing that doesn't make me feel like I did it.
I think some of that is misattributed as self-awareness and humbleness, humility, I guess maybe is the other right word to say. If you walk into the room and you are not self-aware to realize what you don't know, and you act like you know everything, you won't find that level of success, and you won't continue to grow because you're not open-minded, et cetera.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can talk to that in a few different ways. So I think I can actually phrase it. I think my answer might actually clarify in a way I think you could answer as well, Tyler or Bewley yourself, because I think you should probably also answer this. So I've been in the sort of pre-sales architecture role, although there was a period of time where I functioned on it wasn't really post-sales, but I was in more operations doing business continuity and disaster recovery, but I was also the pre-sales architect. So holistically, 8 going on 9 years at this point as a whole. And I've done it in a couple different fashions. And I will tell you this. So when I was at HPE, I was a solutions architect or whatever, enterprise architect, I think was my formal final title. I mean, I knew what I did every day, but I worked from home, and, I supported 2 customers globally, and I didn't really think that much about all the stuff I did every day. Like, I kind of just woke up, did my job, then I played Counter-Strike until I went to sleep, and then that's real. And I know it's real, but I just want to reiterate it, like, every day, 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Counter-Strike, period. And so I did that for a long time. And then, layoffs came at HPE. And we eventually kind of got word that our whole group was just going to be gone eventually, which was like 6 or 7 of us. So we all updated our resumes and started sending them out. I didn't immediately go apply for pre-sales solutions architect or engineer positions. It was not obvious to me at that point that like, this is what I'm doing with my life. Like this is what's best for me. I was doing business analyst, systems analyst. I did have this unique situation where it's like anything that has an analyst tag in it, like I qualified for. You know what I mean? So like I just applied at all over the place. And ultimately, I did sort of fall into some of these other areas. Storage ended up going between Amazon Web Services and a company called Unique Digital. And I ultimately ended up choosing UDI and going there. And it was probably like a year in at UDI of being in the field, being in the commercial space, working on this, getting some like formal recognition, both from like the company I was at and the primary partner that was EMC, that there was a moment where it clicked for myself and my wife, where it was like, hey, you're potentially very good at this. Like this is potentially the thing. So it's never made it. I have, especially now with this newer title that they've thrown on me, like I get pulled in these conversations where it's just like they think I'm going to be a savant, as I walk in there. But so I never have the feeling that I've made it. Yeah, I am a savant.
Yeah. That's
I have the imposter syndrome, but
we're always a work in progress. I get that.
We are, but I know, but
really praise that.
The thing is what I do know with absolute certainty is that this is what I want to do and be involved in. That's legit.
Oh, I'm jelly.
So to that point, I mean, Tyler, you made a huge shift. For me, what I'm saying is that I now know with unequivocally, if SHI ceased to exist tomorrow, I know that my next role is in a pre-sales architect, engineer, whatever.
Yeah.
Or, in that space in general, I know that's what I'm doing. And I know that for the rest of my life, barring any changes to industry or circumstance, that's like, this is the path I'm on and I'm good with it. And I feel very comfortable in it. And I know that I can succeed in it. So I just feel safe.
Yeah. That's what I'm asking. That's what I mean by made it. Not like
that's what
arrive and you can coast.
And that's what I was trying to say is if my answer might be able to tell Tyler whether or not he feels as though like, because I don't know if you do, Tyler, you're like in elementary school right now as you move into this. Granted, your rise has this absurd trajectory that defies the laws of physics, but nonetheless, you made a drastic shift coming from engineering proper, as I would describe it,
to engineering fake,
to this pre-sales
pseudo engineering
role, right? Like, for instance, you're no longer an engineer. Like, you've lost that cred. Now they know that you're fake, and you're just one of us now. But, are you ever going to go back to being a
stolen valor
engineer?
No. I don't think I would be welcomed back with open arms for any kind of metal machining.
Like, how long has it been since you've worked with a laser or done calculations? Like real calculations.
Been out of bed there for a little while.
Yeah.
Probably not. No. And I feel you on that one. Yeah, that's if you're asking it that way, then I think this is a good fit for me, and I know it's a good fit for me. Like I think a lot of it, I enjoy what I'm doing all the time, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of it.
And you're what, four years in?
Yeah.
Ish, yeah. And Russ, so how long was it for you? You said like 7? No. Like 5 at that point.
Maybe 5. Yeah, right around the 5th year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was about 6 for me. So I'm coming up on 13 years now. 12 and a half years is where I'm at.
You are so old.
I know.
You're like 9 kids.
Yeah, about 6 years in is when I kind of had that, like, okay, having some success, Feel like this is really my home where I want to be. So very cool.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. It's funny you asked that too, because I don't think I think that kind of gelled for me recently. I talked to you about it a little bit, but
Yeah.
I've been kind of poking around and trying to figure out if this is the groove that I want to stay in. And the more I asked, the more I prodded, the more I kind of realized, like, yeah, this is where I want to be. This is where I belong. Like, I really think it gelled probably in the last, few weeks, which is pretty cool.
So the next question and I feel like I kind of hijacked all this type of stuff. But the next question after that then is, do you guys feel like you got into this and had success and pursued it because of a pursuit for money, or because of a pursuit for what this is and what it gives to you otherwise?
I had a buddy that worked in the industry and told me it was freaking awesome, that I'd have a lot of fun doing it. And he made me interview with his boss. I had no idea what the money was. In fact, you know this because you were the buddy, but we both assumed that the money wasn't going to be better.
Right.
Because neither of us, were talking dollar figures on either side of the fence. You just assume, fifth generation stealthy fighter should be dragging in mad dollar bills, but turns out this is pretty nice. But no, it was that was definitely not the focus.
So I was trying to find, this is my Dell EMC badge, and this was my VCE badge. I don't have my old EMC badge, but that was the badge that I put on Trevor's desk and was like, if Tyler doesn't work out, you take my badge. That's how much you have to hire this dude.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
Yeah, so I don't know if I didn't really know because I didn't know what I was getting into. So here's a lesson for all the kids out there.
Can I say one thing before you get into that?
Yeah.
Because the question came at me as I'm selling.
Want to make money.
It came a couple different ways from a couple different people, but the one that kind of stood out to me was a guy that is in his young 20s and is selling cars. And he was like, hey, I want to get into selling technology or whatever because I hear the money's dope or whatever, right? So it made me even question if he was going to have success in that.
If that's your primary motivation.
Right? Or yeah, exactly. Or if I should direct him otherwise.
Wrong motivations, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, so here's my thing. One, I didn't even know, I never knew what amount of money I would make in any role ever. I had this like goal, and my dad, like, I don't know, 20 something years ago, or I was like 5 or 6. I was like, Dad, how much money did you make this year? And he was like, oh, like 125,000 or something. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so much money, and I think, I think my dad was proud at that moment. He's like, oh, my son's proud of me. But the thing, the thing is what I told myself at that point in time at 5 years old, and you guys know me, so you'll probably realize that this is how my mind works. My dad was successful. I looked up to my dad. I still look up to my dad. Like, my dad has had a great life. Like, people used to always assume that my dad just made crazy amounts of money. And over time, over 20 years, I'm sure that number's higher now than it was 20 years ago. But nonetheless, it's not like he's a millionaire, or making millions of dollars every year anyways. And so I just remember I said to myself, I was like, man, if I can make $125,000 a year like my dad, I can continue living this life. And this is a good life. Like, I liked my childhood. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I have a very similar story to that.
Yeah, that was my goal. Was like, I just want to make 125,000. And for a long time, guys, like those first 5-6 years in this role, and you guys know because we talked about it, I didn't even know the type of money that could be made. Not that we're raking in millions, but I didn't know. Like 125 was still my goal, which is kind of sad. Like, anyone in these positions should be able to make more than that. And so I had goals once I got into it, but I'll tell you this, it wasn't because of it, because I didn't even know. Yeah. What kept me going for it is I love this stuff in a way that is unnatural, to the point of I have this conversation all the time with people. If I wasn't doing this every day for a job, I would still be talking about Kubernetes on a freaking Saturday night because my conversation on Saturday is the same conversation that I have on a Tuesday.
That's where it's at, man. I argue that's why you're successful, because that's what you're passionate about.
Yep.
Absolutely. I can't stress it more. Whenever I talk at our conference at SHI conference, and it's like I have a building your brand one we've done one that's about a leadership principle, and I'm always talking about just ownership and like enthusiasm and inspiring in your delivery and all of these different things, and that all comes from like really being involved in what you're doing. And you can only do that if you have some, you don't have to love it, like some respect, some admiration. You have to have some emotional connection to what you're doing, regardless of which one it is.
And you don't have to love it every day either. Passion.
No, because I don't.
Goes for sure, right? Like I
3 months at one point.
Days where I don't want to talk about Kubernetes at all.
Yeah.
The other days where I'm like, oh my God, I want to know more. I need to know more. Show me that again. Kind of stuff.
That's so funny you have that story, Russ. I have one very, very similar. My mom kind of like, without getting into all that backstory, same sort of situation with my mom. And I found out one day that she made $80,000 before she ended up basically quitting because she got remarried and we could live off of my stepdad's income, all that kind of stuff. And that was my goal. I even remember like senior year in college, I never wanted to chase the dollar. I just wanted to find something that I was happy with and have some sort of way of supporting my family. And that was just kind of the number that I felt like, gosh, if I can get to that in like 10 years time or something, that was kind of the goal.
I had a goal of 6 digits before 30. It was like, I just wanted to hit it.
You're 23 now?
I am currently, I'll be 24 in March.
18.
Yeah, first kid on the way. So I've achieved my goal, which is great. Whatever, guys. You're like 2 years older than me. I get that y'all look, what's crazy is we're going to have 8 SEV Ops kids starting in December. It'll be 8 SEV Ops kids.
Wow.
We're going to need to get shirts.
The majority of them are contributed by you two, but I'm throwing in my hand, right? I'm putting my hand in the game.
Oh, we know you're throwing your hand in.
Where are you to stop, Russ? How many are you gonna have?
Well, I don't know. I'm a fan of 2. Lindsay has this idea of 3. I've seen what 3 did to Tyler, and I don't even want to talk about 4. Bewley.
That's crazy town.
4 is crazy town. You know what's crazier than 4? 5. And I'll never forget when we met Bewley's replacement whenever he had moved into his new role. And I was like, yeah, this guy has 4 kids. He's like, yeah, I've got 5. 5 girls.
Yep. Nick Rubin.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
A lot of kids.
Hey, I was the second youngest of 5, so I've been on the other side of that fence. I know the craziness that is a loud household. I do not know it from the standpoint of being the annoyed parent. But
so that's the end of my quizzes for you guys, the questions. Thank you for kind of giving me some guidance on that. Good conversation. We're an hour and 15 minutes into this recording. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about until the mega multi-millions, whatever the heck?
I did want to point out one thing. No one commented on my Linux Action Show shirt.
I saw it. I like it.
I didn't have anything to say about that. But I also
went for 10 years, I think, or so.
So help me not feel too dumb. Did you guys know what a Unix to Unix copy map was?
No.
Yeah.
And I
until you tweeted that.
I live in the sisterverse of Unix, which is the Linux space, which is different but similar to Unix.
Yeah. This guy today.
I still didn't know.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, if you knew what Unix was, then you would have known what this was." And I'm like, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. I was forced to use Unix for all kinds of finite element analysis stuff because that's the only platform that they were using at Lockheed for that crap.
Yeah.
No idea about any of that.
Dude, he was talking about, so it's not called email, but it's basically like what email used to be before the internet, where you would just send a text file from one person to the other. Before people had computers, you had access to a terminal with like 60 other lucky individuals. And you could send a message, and there was a map, the thing I tweeted out. There's these series of computers or systems that it would jump from. but they would only send a message either once or twice, maybe 3 times a day. And so he said, where I lived, if I had to send a message to somebody that was accessing a terminal, whatever, from Purdue to UC Berkeley or whatever, I would send the message on Wednesday and they would get the message Friday afternoon. Because of, he was like, but, and then there was some, like he worked. So I also kind of was talking about how he was DNS before DNS was a thing.
Right.
Because he was that mapping component where he would take this message and like connect and send it this way or whatever. He understood the mapping times as well. So he could send it on a longer route around the US, but it would get there faster because of the message queuing and the times that were being sent. So I was just like,
this guy's seen some stuff.
Yeah, he's seen some stuff, man.
He's not just a coder.
There's so much of that, though. I mean, that's one of those funny things. You talk about that. You're talking about the Unix to Unix map, but there's so much in this industry that I run into that is that foreign to me because I'm only 4 years. I don't have historicals. I understand how processes work. I understand how to problem solve. I understand how to take requirements and turn them into some kind of definitive answer, right?
Yeah.
But every day I'm learning the history that got us to where we got, and it's so valuable to have that knowledge, but you cannot catch up for hundreds of years of missed development, right? Like you find those little nuggets every day. That's
something. So it's really cool to know. I don't feel like it slows you down that much anyway, though, because of the rate of innovation. I will tell you,
people like me are relevant. We innovate so fast that what I know is 80 to 90% of the conversation, right? I can fill it by Wikipedia and Google and you name it. But yeah, not knowing Unix to Unix mapping has not held me back at all.
So one of my fears and hesitations getting into what I was doing, becoming a subject matter expert in storage back in the day in like 2008, and then eventually going out in the field. One of the things I struggled with, and one of my mentors gave me the advice, like kind of what I was just saying, as far as it's just progressing quickly. It doesn't matter what the way things used to be done. But I just severely doubted myself because, here I was like, 24, 25. And, I'm in a room talking to and presenting to people who are 40, 45, and they know all that history and they know where we came from. And they know all this conversation that leads up to this. And I'm just like, yeah, this is the magic of iSCSI storage and expanding a LUN on the fly. And I didn't really get what that meant and how cool that was. It was blowing them away, and they would ask questions that I didn't quite get because I didn't understand the pre-existence to that world. But he said, look, dude, it doesn't matter. Like you'll pick that up in conversation as you go along. But this is the new stuff. This is the new way. So.
Yeah, I will say that I have experience. So, I've been doing this for, what did I say, 8 years or whatever, but I've functionally been involved in this space since I was 12. My stepdad we had these $300,000 servers in our house for his business, like server farms that I would help build. I mean, I was compiling kernels, from scratch to get servers up and running and stuff to deploy for this real estate application.
You're such a nerd, dude.
Well, the thing is, man,
compiling kernels at 12?
I didn't compile my first kernel until I was 14. I did hardware stuff for the first 2 years. Software began a little later. But like I did a lot of, I am a student of history, and I think we all probably are. But I did a lot of that stuff. Like for instance, every now and then we have this big tech desk, that you can send stuff into, and people will send these questions like, hey, this customer is asking about, this IBM mainframe and how it works and how it compares to kind of this distributed system. And like no one responds. And then all of a sudden, like I'll get a response like, hey, Russ, we're just kind of waiting to see if like you can answer this. And I'm like, and in my role, that makes sense. But the other side of me says like, guys, do y'all think that I'm like 50, like, or 60? Like, do y'all think I'm the old beard around here? But the reality is that I have been doing it for a very long time. And I've had a lot of those. I've just seen a lot of different things, dealt with IBM and HPE, et cetera, and gotten a lot of history. So I do dive into a lot of those things. For instance, the fact that I don't know what a Unix to Unix copy is, like even now, I don't actually functionally know what it is. is rare for me to not have even some semblance of familiarity with it, because I've just
Dude,
read
it
so
was
many
like the bones of the
things
concept
so
of,
long.
sorry.
Yeah, but it's valuable, and I get in those conversations, and I think maybe as you progress in your different roles, and Bewley, you've functioned like this. You've been an overlay before, and what is an overlay's function? It is to either fix a problem or to take a conversation deeper, and that's what I do. Is I go into these conversations, and oftentimes the history of how we got to where we were explains the why for the reason a product or a technology exists, and that's when it clicks for someone. When you say, this is how we got here and this is why we did it, then someone's like, oh wow. Because it's like, if you look at, I'm just going to throw the vendors' names out: Nimble Storage and Pure Storage. They're the top two external storage products people ask me about all the time, and people ask me the differences between them, because if you look at the story that's told by the pre-sales engineers that's out there, you would think the products are identical. I had this conversation today. I then have to go into the concept of stateless software design to explain why one's architecture is so dramatically better than the other, in a way that the user might not ever see, but that would functionally benefit them through other just soft programs like upgrades and financial incentives and things they do. The technology enables the business process, but you would never know that unless you understood the way certain systems are designed and the fact that this is done for that, and it takes care of things for you. So you guys hear me talk about architectural design all the time. It probably to the point of it annoys you, but it's incredibly important because I've seen those iterations sort of over time. And I think just being a student of history and starting at an absurdly young age of dealing with this stuff, to the point of, like, my stepdad was flying out to California and in conventions competing against other very well-known technology people, like Bill Gates, etc., for like awards, and sometimes winning them. And those are things that I was like 14 years old, and I was like, oh yeah, you need to be doing this thing, and I was just tinkering around with it and getting to work. But there is value to that, and I think the overtime is big. That's why I jumped into HCI, man. I will tell you that. I don't know if you guys were like this, but when HCI was coming down the pipe, I saw that as the very first opportunity for distributed systems to take the biggest leap that they had taken since Moshe took, it mainframe virtualization and ripped it out and put it into what would eventually become Symmetrics. Like, before that, we had seen a big change. HCI was the closest thing to it, and I saw that, and I think I know you did, Bewley, and I knew you way better than I knew you.
I
just dove into it.
I witnessed what vSphere did to our industry. Like, I watched people freak out. I watched, like, it changed people's lives. And I can remember in 2008, 2009-ish thinking, what the hell? How awesome would that be if we could do this with the storage aspect and not just the compute?
Well, I wasn't even thinking that. So,
and then there it was.
Good on you, because I didn't even have that thought.
And there it was, vSpecs Blue, I guess, at the time. And like, I was watching Nutanix work on it. But
guys, we all used to compete against Nutanix. I obviously work with them now, but when I was competing against them, it wasn't even a thought in my mind. Like, someone would come to me and they'd be like, "What, Nutanix?" And I'd be like, "What about them? Who buys it? What does it matter?" It didn't click with me immediately.
Yeah.
It took a while. Like, even vSpecs Blue didn't really click with me.
Yeah.
What clicked with me was receiving a text message from you to me and Tyler saying, "Hey guys, check out this podcast, this virtually speaking podcast, and this vSAN 6.2. It was like just after VxRail had sort of released. That's when all of it clicked. When Rail hit, vSpeaking guys came in, vSAN 6.2. I listened to that podcast, and I know I've told them this a million times. I listened to that at least 130 times. I know the vSAN 6.2 podcast backwards and forwards. I bought the vSAN Essentials book from it. I read the whole thing while walking on my treadmill. Like, that was a big change for me, was diving into.
Yeah.
I mean, I became obsessed with distributed system design, something that I actually always liked and even studied in school. Like, I scholastically trained for distributed systems, and then just didn't really think about it much going into that. But once things started clicking left and right, man, that was a big change.
Yeah, dude. So it like I kind of saw what Nutanix was doing and was like, there's something special here, but it didn't really like it didn't click for me yet because, and I think part of it is how they market with the concept of invisible infrastructure. And then whenever vSAN,
what they were doing,
what?
It was a terrible joke. So
yes, I get you. But then, so when vSAN came out and started popping, it was like, damn. So this is the second wave of virtualization that I was thinking about in 2008, 2009. Like, how sweet, how awesome would this be if we didn't have to deal with external pools of physical storage? We didn't have to sell external SANs because we could just like have the data sit here and here. Like I remember thinking, what if we could take vSphere and something like Double Take? You remember the Double Take software that would just replicate between host and host?
Absolutely.
What if VMware had the capability of Double Take and they could just like proliferate the storage for the VMs across all the hosts?
It's not there yet, bro.
And then vSAN came out, yeah, and I was just like, there it is. And then that's why I was like 130% into VxRail.
I'll never forget sitting in the UDI office and talking about like, dude, I don't know why, but the only thing that I want to do is VxRail. Like that is all.
I think it was there for that too.
It was just a strong moment there. I just vividly remember. Honestly, I bet VxRail, vSAN, etc., is the reason why SEV Ops exists. I know that you and I talked about it for like a year prior, Bewley, of doing a podcast that eventually morphed into this. But I think that really kicked it off. I know we did like one or two others with like Hagstrom and stuff, but that launch like really kicked it off. I mean, heck, the first like 7 things we did were about vSAN, you know? So, I don't know. It's good stuff.
So what's next?
Good times.
Yeah, dude, what is next?
Bewley, what is your 2008, 2009 thought for 2018, 2019? Because I didn't see software.
I think about that every day. Every day I wake up and I'm like, what's the Google that I'm missing right now? But I mean, to be totally honest, like I've built my career off of observing what those next things were and going into it full bore before anybody else was like even remotely comfortable with it. A lot of people hate change. I love change and I embrace it and I take what I see as valuable in that change and then promote that. But dude, like,
that's why I've been diving a little bit into this, higher up the stack and microservices.
Yeah.
And the thing is sorry, overlords of Google, not that they are holistically the only people with a stake in this. I don't know that Kubernetes is necessarily that next wave because I don't even know that microservices is necessarily that next wave. It could be functions, it could be something else.
Yeah,
but
I think it's
that area, that part of the stack is the next place to have the VMware revolution. You know what I mean? Like
yes, exactly. Very much in the same way that like cryptocurrency is kind of in that same realm. Like it's going to be hard to pick who the right ones are going to be. 92% of those that exist today are probably not going to exist in 10 years.
Exactly.
But it is without a doubt going to change the world and be successful. It's battling the forces of massive governments, right? I mean, China, Russia, the U.S., they don't want cryptocurrency to succeed. But it will.
It will.
So.
100%.
Anyway. We're an hour and a half into this. This is going to be a long YouTube video.
Yeah, we're going to.
I bet nobody watches it.
Yeah, we're going to have to get back into some short stuff. We need some high energy short topics.
Well, we need to have a targeted topic.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
But I think actually get back to SEV, short educational videos.
Yeah. I do appreciate this. There might be like one person that appreciates watching us do this.
No, I like these thoughts, and we've been talking about doing this stuff for a while, right? Like the fireside chat side of SEV Ops has been on the top of mind. We started doing this in the beginning, but still think we're on to something with high energy. We obviously have to change formats. We just can't align schedules well enough to get together and actually do a video together. But this kind of stuff, we can still do focused, topic-based, educational tech talk.
For sure. And we're going to make a traditional one as well at some point in time. I can tell you with absolute certainty that James will watch this. He is our most dedicated viewer. We need to get him a shirt.
What is up, James? You don't even have shirts.
I'll make shirts.
Us and the kids.
Currently shirtless.
I'll make some shirts or something. I got stickers. I'll give him some stickers for sure. He does like stickers.
There you go. James, you're our number one fan. Even though you have the number 2 HCI solution.
Oh, snap. Woo! Hey, he bought it from CDW, so I don't care. I will say he's going to watch this at the time that we would normally do it. He's going to watch this at 3:30 on Friday because he has a calendar reminder in his work calendar that SEV Ops
be up on the TV.
Inside of the knock, he's got it on the TV every time.
All right, let's sign off and end it. It is 10:30 at night for me, and I got to be up again at 6 a.m.
All right, man.
And figuring out how I'm gonna spend my mega millions. I'm going to end this recording. So, and then I'm not even going to edit it. I'm just going to plop it onto YouTube. So, anything else you want to say to close this out?
That's it. I'm signing off, stream. Throw some 1Gs up in the chat.
All right.
Thanks for watching, folks. Another, we'll call it an episode of SEV Ops, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching.
All right.
Peace.
Later, fellas.